Hey YouTube, JGreen302. I'm going to call this one tracking. I haven't got a script for this. I was actually out working on the truck when I realized I should make a video about this, wrapped everything up and came in. I spent a few minutes thinking about this and how I'm going to approach the subject. It sounds like this. I have been telling everybody, you need to get networking going. You need to find like-minded people. If something should go wrong, you want to have people that have actually taken the effort to stock food, pull back a little cash, have some supplies, not going to be a drain on you, going to be an asset, have taken the time, things like that. So, along those lines, I actually met up with somebody that I knew from a way back. Found me on Facebook. Said, hey, dude, we ought to get together and talk. So we picked a time and a place. We had a long, interesting conversation. I'm not used to somebody being at my level and a little bit higher. Got a lot of interesting tips, got a lot of interesting things to think about. And when we wrapped everything up, we kind of headed on. And the other day he calls, he gets a hold of me on IM. He says, hey, listen, you need to check something out. And there's a meeting of like-minded. I think we ought to go check this out. Are you going to make it? And I was like, I don't know. Life, busy. I managed to squirrel away the time and managed to actually get freed up, and I drove to the location, and I found him. We're sitting there talking. We weren't sure where this group was or how big it was or how to identify them, so we were hanging out a little bit, and then we finally figured out, well, they must be in one of these two areas, and we found them. And we sat down and we listened. We were very quiet, and we let them kind of go through their routine. People asked questions, people said things, people did things. And as everybody was heading out, we were talking to a younger group, 3 or 4 guys. And one sitting there with an outside holster, showing it off. One guy was an ex-Marine. He pulls out his knife, and we point out that, from blade to, or from hilt to tip of blade, that's illegal. You might want to think about that if you don't have your permit for the state. They drifted off, and we're kind of looking at each other like, what the fuck? So the guy that runs this little setup, we were talking to him. And, we were new faces, so he was kind of, you guys have any questions, any concerns, blah, blah, blah. Well, we commenced discussing. Well, one of the first things we did is we pointed out, you're having a meeting, and right up in the corner is a camera recording everybody in the group. Did you notice that the venue in which you selected is open air to another venue right next to us, and there must be 30 or 40 people that can hear every single thing that we're being, discussing. And some of the terms could freak people out. And so we kind of was talking to him about what he was thinking, what he was doing, what his goals were, and things like that. And then we wrapped everything up, and I was talking to the guy I was there with, and he was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, well, I don't know. I said, being on camera like that and having the group get together, and some of the Jerry Springer that I saw, I said, I don't think I was too comfortable. And then he looked at me and says, take a look at burn phones. See what you can come up with. I thought it was an odd parting request. I said, I'll think about it. See what I can come up with. We went on our way. And so I took some time and I did some homework. Found some interesting things. So that's the story. That's the premise. That's what started all this for this video. Now, I'm going to switch to a side topic here. 2 things that I've noticed while thinking about all this was these devices and Facebook. The other day, somebody said something to me about Facebook, and I said, Facebook was not a startup that went crazy. I said, Facebook was something that once they figured out what they were doing, the government said, we'd like to help you, and here's what we want in return. And Zuckerberg, or whatever the hell his name is, said, okay. And point in case, a buddy of mine down in Florida, I had to call him up, and I said, dude, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to stop. And he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, dude, it's... Really? I said, dude, it's... Stop. That's annoying. Everywhere you go, it's putting place markers and marking your routes of habit. I said, I know what Walmart you go to. I know what bars you hang out at. I know where you shop. I know where you hang out. I said, man, I could get on a plane and... Stop! What the fuck? Assholes. I said, you gotta stop. I said, all your movements are being plotted and tracked on Facebook. And he was like, you gotta be shitting me. He took a look. Sure enough, everywhere he'd been, it checked him in. And we worked on that, and then we started looking at some other things. And the combination between really Facebook and the cell phones. Facebook, stop and think about it. Who's your mom? Who's your dad? What's your birth date? Where'd you go to school? Who are your friends? Or should I say, who are your known acquaintances? What do they look like? Well, we got pictures. We posted them. We all had that party. We all hung out and done stupid shit. What kind of vehicles you drive? Well, I took 3 pictures of my truck when I was out there four-wheeling. What kind of activities are you interested in? Hang out, you ride dirt bikes, you go camping, go to the range, go to the gun store. So all of a sudden, it's like a compilation of all the information you could possibly ask for on somebody. Now, couple it with one of these devices. And this is where it gets interesting. What's the first thing you can notice that it might collect? The GPS in this is always on. Even right now in the off condition, it's pinging cell towers, and they're keeping records of where the pings come in. So this phone number has a tracking number, what towers it pings based on where it's located, your fingerprints. Needless to say, they can track it, they can turn it on, they can listen, hello, to the FBI, fuck you. They can turn your camera on. Well, a lot of folks say, well, you're getting really paranoid. And I ask, am I? Because suddenly the police can now track everything. All this is evidence. And this is the thing I'm starting to get you aware of. So I am going to unplug that piece of shit. That is just ridiculous. Don't they understand? So here's my point. If anybody's been to traffic court, how do they get you? This is the game. All the laws are set up against you. It's the ones that they choose to enforce. And how do they go and enforce it? I really need to make that stop. How obsessively ignorant is that? Your Honor, I was doing the speed limit. Officer, Your Honor, here's the, what do they call it? Here's the certification that the radar detector on that day before I went out was certified as accurate and true. Here is the records of the tagging of that vehicle and the speed that it was doing. Here's the records of that evening coming in and recertifying the device, Like 6 pieces of evidence. Judge looks at you. What do you got? Yeah, I was doing the speed limit. Do you have any evidence? No. You lose. See, the evidence in the court case versus your verbal testimony, you lose. Your Honor, we have tracked this individual, and we know that he was here, 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 and here on these dates and times, which correlate with what we say is what this individual was doing, and therefore we have reasonable cause to request a search warrant on this individual's house. Well, what do you have to say? I wasn't there. What's my point here? If you're on Facebook, be careful what you put out there. Don't use Facebook on your phone. When you're dealing with other people, it only takes one bad apple to ruin the bushel. We went to that meeting and we saw a lot of bad apples. No clue as to what they were doing. No clue as to the fact that they were being videotaped, that their locations were known, that people were saying things that they should not be saying out loud. No understanding of what we call OPSEC. We need to write down rules, and we need to write down procedures, and you don't even know history. The French Revolution, they wrote nothing down. Why? No evidence. You either know or you don't know. Communications, how do you make it function if things start to go bad? How do you stay off the government's radar? What if you're an individual that likes to go to the shooting range, or likes to go to gun stores, or likes to do certain things, or maybe you want to go and meet up with a group like this, and you really don't want to be tied to it? Tracking. Point 1. Good old Mylar bag. Put one in the truck. Ergo, this is what prompted me to think about this. No more signal, no more pings, no more cell tracking as to where the device is and at what time. It goes silent. You're starting to see my point here. If I'm going to the range, maybe within 15 miles of range, I'm going to make that cell phone go off the network. If I'm on my way to the gun store, if I've got one of these, I can make this go silent. If I'm going to go meet a few friends, and we would rather not have tracking records, we drop it in the bag. We are careful about what we say, especially on Facebook. We're careful about the communications that we use. We don't need, and the one thing that I am noticing in this world today is that anytime anybody looks like they're getting together, and it has anything to do with guns, or if it has anything to do with the Constitution, people are getting their panties in a bunch. Sounds a little paranoid, right? Go check Fox News. Today is 4/13/2013. It's about 3 p.m. Fox News has a blatant article. Critics question use of new NSA data center that's like some ridiculous size, 25 miles due south of Salt Lake City. Massive construction project is nearing completion. Heavily secured site, the Spy Center. I do data centers. Oh my God. That is, it could hold 5 zettabytes of data. What are they tracking? Wonder what they're tracking and why. So are you starting to see my point here? They're taxing rainwater. They're building massive data centers to track you. They're tracking students and providing all the private information they can. They are watching you with cameras everywhere. They're tracking you with your multipass. Everywhere you go, they know where you are, especially with this. So when it comes to tracking in this crazy little world of ours, a little common sense goes a long way. The only thing that they know about you is what you give up. If you're not stupid enough to just, here, track me, Or if you're smart enough to say, you can track me to my local Walmart, you can track me to my gas station. But there are times where you can't track me. What are they going to do then? What are they going to know? Nothing. If you're smart about what you're doing and you think ahead, and this includes simple things like if you, I don't know, let's say you want to go to the casino. You don't withdraw your money at the casino. You go to the same place you withdraw money on a regular basis, and you withdraw it from there. If you're paying attention, if you're going in and buying ammunition, pay cash. Is it so hard to go to the ATM? Why would you go to Midway or Walmart and there you go. Easy tracking on how much ammunition I'm buying, where I'm buying it, when I'm buying it. Evidence, 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 evidence. And how many mistakes are you making like this? As things get more and more bizarre, you need to start taking more and more steps. Reasonable precaution. Now, if 0.001% of us dip off the radar, it's okay. They're not going to be too worried. There's all the rest that are still, grinding away. They're going to pay attention to those folks. Tracking. Have you put any thoughts into just how much you've been tracked? How much they know? How much of your supplies, food, stocks, whatever, this guy's been buying from Mountain House for 4 years. He's got over 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Nancy Pelosi wants this son of a bitch thrown in jail. It sounds funny, but I've seen the articles that they've thrown people in jail for felonies for far less. Protect yourself. Thanks for listening.